Okay, everybody, welcome back. This year, 2025, the Surviving Through the Holidays, Thriving Through the Holidays. I originally called it Surviving, and this was back during COVID, right? So because everyone was locked indoors and everything. What you're witnessing here on this page is what's called a music and ambience on YouTube. This is a new thing. It's so cool. You type in basically what you want to see, and it brings up music with this static picture, and it'll play for hours. And they have all different kinds. And the whole purpose of this is to allow you to get into a state of mind where you are able to relax and feel comfortable, right? So for some people, this might feel comfortable. For others, there may be other music and ambience examples that might be better. But I wanted to play this in the beginning just to give you a kind of an intro to the lecture. All right, so let's go on. Before we dig into this, I want to start by talking a little bit about how things were many, many years ago before commercialized Christmas actually came into play. In America, we have holidays. We have brief, small holidays, times that we take breaks, times that we relax. And those holidays are very, very short, unless you take extra time, a couple days, a day, maybe. In Europe, break time is much longer, right? So they might take 3 weeks off in the summer, where they stop working and they relax with family. But in America, we're a little bit different. We do things a little differently here. From 1938 to 1945, I think I've got those dates right for World War II. Prior to that, Christmas was a family holiday. It was something where people got together. They didn't have a lot of money. It basically focused around food, making gifts, spending time together. From 1938 to 1945, World War II raged. And during that time period, something very interesting happened in this country. The availability of product in general was non-existent. Butter, meat, water was very limited on restriction. They even went so far as to tell people how warm to make their homes, etc. And I have a slide on that. The entire country was focused on the war machine. And as a result of that, all extra supplies, all extra ingredients for foods, materials to build with were not available because all the metal and everything was going towards the war effort. So it is a very interesting time because this time period, people learned to live with what they had and they had to fix what they had. So they didn't have a lot of extra money to buy gifts and to entertain their desires, right? So buying new refrigerators, buying new cars, etc. The country became very quiet and very self-reliant. What you're witnessing here on the screen is an example of Christmas packages being sent to troops overseas. This is Germany up in the center, and you have different groups receiving gifts. Remember, when they were at war, many times they spent Christmas there. They didn't even come home to see family. And that may have gone on for some time. The higher up you were in the service, the more holidays you'd spend away from home. So it wasn't uncommon. This is a picture to talk a little bit about what I was talking about. They actually came out with a ration book. Who knows what a ration book is? You know what a ration book is. Ration book. So this was like, you would get so many coupons for so many things. Salt, butter, and when you ran out, you couldn't get it. It was that simple. You had to wait, right? I love this one. I told my wife about this one. This slide about sacrifice and conserving. And turn down the thermostat to 55 degrees at night. 55 degrees, holy cow. Maintain an even daytime temperature below 70. Avoid unnecessary opening of doors and windows, right? Because that would cool the house or heat the house up. Or the apartment, or wherever people live. Close bedroom doors at night, close fireplace, dampers when not used, and turn off heat in all unused rooms because the oil that they used to heat was being sent overseas. So if they needed the oil, that would mean they wouldn't be able to send it overseas. So what I'm doing is I'm setting up a picture. Because in 1945, when the war ended and people came home, everything changed. Now, everybody had a job. Everybody was working and making money. Everybody had sacrificed for all those years. They were still driving the same cars, using the same refrigerators that were half broken, etc., that they couldn't get fixed. Now they were ready for new. They were ready to push the war and the war effort and everything behind them, and they were ready to move ahead. And that is when commercialization began for Christmas, because what better time of year to celebrate all these wonderful new things than a holiday, right? So I like these pictures. I've shown them a couple of years in a row. The example of what the optimal experience would be during the Christmas season, right? And it was all depicted by commercials, right? So this is, let's see, what was the year on this? I think this was the 50s. So you're starting to see Christmas trees with gifts, Christmas trees with presents, all kinds of giving. Who remembers these guys? Does everybody remember these guys, right? Claymation, and the story of Santa Claus. Now, Santa Claus has been a story that's been around a long time, but up until the 50s, he wasn't really that popular. He was all right. He was sort of popular, but not like he was in the 50s. And so all these different songs and stories and this entire push to create this magical season, this magical concept of what this holiday would be like, right? So when you think about holidays, and this is interactive, what do you think about?
Stress.
Stress.
Chaos.
Chaos, right? How many people think of stress and chaos? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, at least, right? What do you think about when you think about holidays? What first comes to mind?
Family.
Family. Okay, now, are you talking about extended family, or are you talking about just your nuclear, your central family? Central family. Because we're going to talk about extended family, right? Loneliness. That's a good one, isn't it? Right? Some people don't have any family because people have moved, people have passed away, right? Don't have any family. And so what this means to someone like that is a totally different story than what it might mean to someone that has a family, right? The reason this lecture came into existence in the first place was because I found myself in rooms with patients who would be dreading the holidays. It would be coming, and they truly, throughout their entire being, they were dreading the holidays. And I would ask them, why? Why are you dreading? Always because of expectations of what they thought they needed to do to make the holiday correct, right? The reason I started with all this stuff about the war and where it all came from is because the more you read and learn about this, the more you realize that correct was created by a commercialized industry. Correct was created. There is no correct. There is just what we know, and what we know is what we've seen on television, what we heard on the radio, and what we were presented with. That is the example of what is right. I love this picture. Do you know where this picture? Probably won't even know. I would be blown away if anyone actually knew where this picture was. I snapped it so quickly at the beginning of a movie because I thought, wow, look at that beautiful screen. And It's not even that good of a picture, but look at that beautiful street with the snow coming down. Look, it looks just so picturesque. This is from the Polar Express. Very beginning, when he's talking, he's narrating, and there's a real quick scene where you see the street and then it goes up into his room. All right. You remember these guys? This is another claymation. Santa Claus Comes to Town, right? So, innocence is presented as the essence of Christmas, which is why, in part, it targets children. Right? That's why you see all these goofy little characters. None of these are for adults. These aren't for us. We might like them secretly. But these aren't really for us. This is for children, right? So that children can associate. And this story, as much as I love it, talks about how Santa Claus brings gifts to children. And by the end of the movie, all the children are happy and they're excited every year for Christmas because they get gifts. So this is a great question. I want you to stop and think about this for just a moment. I'm going to go, and we don't have too many people here, so I'm going to go through the room. If you could create a Christmas scene in your mind, what would it look like? What would it look like? Give it just a second. If you, any way you want to do it, in your mind, what would it look like? Who wants to start? Nobody wants to start.
Cuddle cozy warm with a fire and a good blanket and a good book.
There you go. Are you alone? Are you with other people?
Or could be.
Pardon?
Could be.
Could be. Either way.
The cats.
The cats. So basically relaxing. Fireplace. We have a fireplace. We have a blanket. Okay.
Along with that, they have good homemade food set aside to get nibble on,
So you got food around, right?
the trays of it.
There you go. What do you think?
I think it, like the sharing of experience. So like cooking together, you know, creating together, just being together.
So there are people there with you.
Right, but there's like, it's not just, you know, people, but they're actually doing some kind of intimate sharing.
Nice. So an experience.
Yeah, experience.
My kids and my husband and I, breakfast, pajamas all day,
Nice.
watching movies together as a family,
And that makes you
chilling
happy.
and doing nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I grew up thinking that what we did was perfect, so we would do the candlelight service at church.
Okay.
While we were at church, Santa Claus came.
Now this was
Great.
this would be on the 24th, right?
Yes.
Okay. At night you'd go to church really late at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
And that brought you joy.
yeah, we had joy as a family, and that was just the tradition we got into.
Okay.
And, and we'd have presents, but it wasn't a lot. It was in 50s, so my parents did what they could, and it was baking cookies and having fudge, having family come for dinner. So
Okay. So we're going to remember the word history for this table right here. History. How about you?
Mine is I like to sit back and with my dog and Coco and just watch my kids and my husband and family having fun. That's my perfect, is seeing all the hard work that we pour into Christmas being appreciated.
Okay. How about you?
Well, basically, I just I got my brother back.
That would be your perfect Christmas. Okay.
I didn't hear that.
He'd like his brother back. His brother died. Yeah. So that would be the perfect Christmas, right? That would be the perfect Christmas. Okay. So we have family. It's interesting when I asked that question of you, that you went back in time. You didn't talk about now. you talked about back then. That was your first inclination, right? It's interesting. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just interesting that that is the picture that's captured in your mind, right? Whether you do that now or not, that's where you go in your mind, right? For the joy of Christmas and what you remember as really happy and really good times, right? Well, we know what stops you from doing that. We know what stops you from doing that, right? Because for the obvious reason, right? But what stops you from going to church? This is a retort, right?
We do that.
You do that.
And we go home and we don't have oyster soup, but we do, we do have a little dinner when we get home.
Yeah. Is it as much as you would normally do?
Oh, no,
Yeah, there you go. See?
no, it's just snacky foods.
Yeah.
And the tradition of oyster soup came from Nebraska. So.
All right. How about you?
I get caught up in just the cleaning, like my OCD kicks in.
So you're unable to be present.
So I'm
fully.
unable to be present. Yeah, I'm always thinking of the next thing.
Yes.
Bring in the boxes so the decor can be put away the next day. Bring in the new year fresh. It's always the next thing.
It's always the next.
Not being present.
Yes, and I think you said you were doing what you love to do, so you weren't being prevented from doing additional, right?
Sometimes,
Okay.
because my in-laws family always gets together on Christmas Day.
Mm.
The reason I don't like to do that is because that's not traditional for my family.
Mm.
And it requires us to open gifts, hustle through the day, hurry up, eat your breakfast, open your stockings. We gotta hit the road because we have a 3-hour drive, and then go there. So that's like last year, that was what it was. Or even like in talking about like, this is the perfect Christmas, it's also the feeling I have, right? That, oh, everybody's loving everybody and they love their gifts and they're all so gracious and thankful for what they got. And we have 5 kids, so my expectations on how everybody will get along and how I will feel in that moment don't generally coincide because somebody's gonna argue or they can't pick a movie to watch or.
When you go over there.
Yeah, or no, at our house.
At your house.
Even if we say we're not gonna use the family, which we usually do,
Okay.
even in our house, like everybody bickers and fights and it's not this peaceful, wonderful, perfect picture of a family.
The way the fireplace scene with everyone sitting
Yeah.
around enjoying a party, etc. I'm going to ask you next. What stops you from doing exactly what you just said?
Most of the people that I am more intimate with do not live close by, and most of my family are dead.
How about you guys? Yours was kind of not quite as specific, right? You were pretty easygoing, playing with a fire, with your cats, with blankets.
Just peace and quiet.
But is your life not usually like that?
Not lately, no.
You know, sometimes having to prep everything the day before so you can have the day off, can get stressful in itself.
Yeah, stressful in itself. So what I'm hearing from almost everybody, most people, is that there's always this level of stress that's associated with this outcome of peace or happiness, right? There's always stress. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? So holidays and family. Holidays are a learned behavior based on previously learned behavior. So parents teach what they've learned to their children. From the time you're born, you don't know what a holiday is. You don't understand how a holiday works. You learn this is what you're supposed to do. We go to church at midnight. This is what we learn. And as we learn these things, we start to associate that. We learn good habits, right? Getting together and this idea that you have about working together on meals and like being industrious together, this came from something, right? So you experience this at some point, right? And it burned in your mind, and that was joy, right? Etc. Some of the stuff you guys are with your brother, right? You remember all these things. And of course, we learn the bad habits. We learn the bad habits, unfortunately. Then as adults, we must carry on, sometimes with our new families, so our more nuclear families, right? And sometimes alone. Learn behavior. So this is our next topic, is learned behavior. So we learn the good habits, we learn the bad habits, we learn the good behaviors, and we learn the not so good behaviors. Problem is, we are human. And humans are very complicated. Very, very complicated creatures. We learn the things that we must do to adapt to our surroundings, to adapt to what it is that we have. So when people pass away and we are by ourselves, we adapt. Sometimes we adapt in a positive direction. Sometimes we adapt in a negative direction. Negative would be like we become more isolated. We become less engaged. We withdraw, right? We become a little resentful. We become angry. We listen to other people's stories and it frustrates us, right? Then as adults, we carry on and we bring all of that new stuff into our new life. Now here's where things get really complicated. If you get married or you have a partner, that person also brings all of those things that we're learning into the situation, just as this young lady was telling us here about the in-laws. The reason people use that term and roll their eyes when they say it is because this family over here that represents the in-laws has a whole concept of what happiness means to them. And this may or may not be compatible with your concept of what happiness means. And you have to blend this together somehow to find some happy medium. I showed this, you know what this is, right? Yeah. So where did giving come from? And how did it transition to gift giving? This is a good, this is back in the 60s, okay? This is just at the beginning of the commercialization.
Is this Samantha?
Yes?
Okay.
This is a motion picture trailer. Running time, 1 minute, 50 seconds. You sing the anthem. Usually they're shown scenes from a new picture. This one is different. You're seeing a reenactment of a true life tragedy on a motion picture set. Tragedy, of course, is make-believe. The actors can walk away from it because it never really happened to them. In our own lives, we can. We can only try to prevent it. Our tragedy point is tuberculosis. Thousands of Americans died of TB last year, needlessly. These TB victims were unlucky because TB can be prevented. Here's how. Each of us can help cut ourselves right out of the TB picture with Christmas season to fight tuberculosis. No collection is made at any theater for Christmas seals. They're mailed in a letter from your tuberculosis association to your home.
Christmas seals.
In the privacy of your home, you decide if you want to contribute. I hope you will. Why? Because Congress in the fight against TB since the very first Christmas seal was sold has been a saving of more than 8.5 million lives. And that's a lot of people saved from tragedy of tuberculosis. To them, and as many of us, TB may never seem real, but to some, every 6 minutes every day, tuberculosis is something that is suddenly happening. Now, could be anyone of us, poor, rich, race, age, sex, and difference. These are happy Christmas letter today. Thank you.
Remember Christmas seals?
But they were not stamps.
What's your thoughts?
Friends, I have something kind of important to talk to you about. In the like 100 cities, in the Marine Corps, in the tourist tours, for tots. Thanks.
Remember the Toys for Tots?
Oh, Merry Christmas.
I feel like that's the only thing that's still.
Christmas packages is not as thing to do up, but I think they are for me, it's just one more thing that needs a woman's touch to do this right. But you don't have to be an expert at early finishing Christmas is. You can be as good as the next man, but it's not to be proud of it, because Christmas is more than just pretty decorations. Every Christmas Eve we use on our packages and on our Christmas cards too, as we need to our gifts to the wishes. Christmas Eve will help protect every one of us, every man, woman, and child from tuberculosis. The TV striking one American every 7 minutes is an almost to fight back with Christmas Eve. So, even if you're not an expert at writing presents, you can be proud of your job when you use Christmas Eve to fight tuberculosis, to save lives. So that's your Christmas Eve letter today.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth McGowan. Boy, every Christmas it's the same thing. Crowd, shopping, lugging the presents home. I love it. And I'm having the same problem this year I had last year and the year before. Deciding what to buy for my family and friends. Well, I discovered something that helped me and just might help you this holiday season. This is the gift. A U.S. savings bond, guaranteed to please. You know something? It's a successful present. Never goes out of date. Here's a gift that truly keeps on giving, pays interest to make it grow every year. Even more than that, it's an investment in freedom. I might even give one to my son. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Now, what did you guys notice about those gifts? They seem kind of boring, don't they? Christmas seals and savings bonds. This was the push, right? Government? Yeah. Not to mention some comments that were a little bit politically incorrect, but that was the 50s. But the bottom line is that the push back then was unification, country unification. And if you're going to buy something and you're going to spend money on something that actually means something, right? This was the mindset back then, just at the beginning, 50s and 60s, just at the beginning. Boy, has that changed. When was the last time you saw anything like that on television?
Oh, man.
Do they even still have?
Christmas seals, or I think they have Toys for Tots, but we never see any of those things, right? So why holidays at all? We talked a little bit about this in the beginning. Well, Americans work hard. We work hard. We are constantly doing something. So we need time designated to reflect on what we've done over the past year, how things have gone. European holidays don't exist here. Some are off for adult workers, not children so much, but I mean adults that work, right? And extended time off after childbirth, that's something that's starting to take off here, right? Especially for husbands and wives, right? Or partners taking time off after childbirth. This has existed for years in Europe. This is nothing new. Commercialization, non-existent until after World War II. People just simply didn't have the money to spend. Yet Americans seem to be a lot happier, more unified together, right? They seem to be happier in general. More time was spent with family. Because if you didn't have money to buy things, you would do things, picnics, 4th of July, picnics, right? Hawaiian, I had to throw that in there, right? Hawaiian. So we start to see commercialization and they start to make all kinds of crazy things, right? Hawaiian Christmas and all kinds of new ideas. So we talked about this. After the war, money started rolling and people started making money. You all are aware of that. All the homes that were built and purchased, and basically everybody started to associate buying things with a way to reward yourself or others for hard work. Right? So Uncle Joe needs a new pipe. Mary would like a new doll. Dad needs slippers. You see where it's all coming from? Mom needs a new vacuum cleaner. Well, that's a different problem.
Roomba.
Right, Roomba. I know it's Roomba, right? So you start to see it develop. You start to see need. They start to say, you have to have this. You have to have this because it's the newest thing, and this is the perfect time to give it. What is the first mass-marketed toy? If you saw it last year, you're not allowed to say anything. What is the first mass-marketed toy that was brought out for children for Christmas?
Jack in the Box?
Pardon?
Teddy bear?
You ready?
Oh.
Potato Head! Mr. Potato Head. You know what's interesting is this actually started, the whole Mr. Potato Head craze actually started many years before it was made into a toy, where kids would actually take potatoes and they would poke things and they would make little faces and stuff. That's where they got the idea. So what makes the holidays good? Well, you guys mentioned a lot of them. The 5 senses, right? Smell, taste, touch, hearing, and what you see, right? All of these things are what really make the seasons, beautiful tree, special, right? I cannot go a season without smelling what a Christmas tree would smell like. Of course, we haven't bought a real Christmas tree in such a long time. So we get candles that smell like it and fragrance that smells really, really close. And when you smell it, it suddenly snaps you back to a memory, right? Very, very special. As they started marketing, they started thinking about ways to market Christmas trees because everybody needed a Christmas tree and not everybody could go out and chop them down. So Reynolds, who produced a lot of aluminum foil for the war, and there was no longer a need for so much aluminum, had to figure out what to do with all that extra aluminum. So they came up with this brilliant idea. Hey, you can get an aluminum tree. So it became a fad. It became a craze. For a short time, aluminum trees were the thing.
They started selling those within the past recent couple of years at the Dollar Tree, like legitimate like aluminum foil trees.
Yeah.
I'm like, no way. You came to mind when I saw it because of this.
Really?
I'm like, I should have just got one for you.
We bought one.
Did you?
We bought one.
I
When
love
because they started coming out a couple years ago, then they brought them. And that's another thing, how things keep coming around again, like these giant glasses, right? They come around again and disappear and come around again, right? So Christmas dinner, I think someone mentioned food, right? That invokes the senses, taste and smell. I want to help you kind of refocus things, because the whole purpose of this lecture is not to teach you about Christmas, but it's to talk about how you rediscover the holidays in your own way. And I want to talk about this perfect picture of what people think and how they see things, right? So when you look at this picture, outside of this gentleman on the roof here, doing whatever it is that he's doing, you see the snow, right? You have to have snow. We never have snow, but you have to have snow, and the horse and the carriage. It's almost ridiculous, right? It's almost ridiculous when you watch these old movies. I love watching White Christmas. Every year I watch it. I love it. It's just, I watch it and I'm like, this is how they used to live. It's just amazing. And there's a scene in the movie where it finally starts to snow and they open up these big doors of this theater where they're doing the performance. And you know what? The snow is coming down. And it just so happens that there's someone on a horse-drawn carriage that just happens to be coming, or a horse-drawn sleigh, just coming around just at the right time. And it's amazing, right? So they create this idea. How in the world could you possibly be fully satisfied with a holiday when they create expectations that are so outrageously impossible, right? You strive to do as much as you can, but how could you possibly, right? Because the movies are telling you, oh, this is better. Look at this. This is even better, right? And so because we're human and we are always not fully satisfied, we always question decisions, we start to look at these things and it causes a sense of desire to get more, make more, be more, do more. The actuality is this beautiful scene, right, of this image is a movie set. This is Bing Crosby. This wasn't White Christmas, this was the one before that.
Christmas in Connecticut.
Christmas in Connecticut is what that was. And he's standing there, there's no real snow, it's not even cold, right? But the whole idea is when you look at this picture, all you see is this. You think, wow, look at that, they're all bundled up, they're probably sweating.
Middle of them.
Okay, I want you to count the number of times that you see the letter F in the following sentence. You ready? Here we go. Got it? All right. How many times? 6?
6.
6. 3. 3.
I
You didn't do it, really?
I've seen that far. so-
Okay, that's okay.
Counted
3.
three.
3.
3. 6. You know why you don't count 6? Because you're missing certain L's.
The little ones.
It's, right? The insignificant ones. You're looking for finished files,
Something else.
right? But there's up, and there's up here. It is a lesson in missing certain points of obviousness, right? And being caught in just the generalization of what's happening. So what does it mean? See, I never changed that. I said survive. Right? I was told to change that. I forgot to change that. Survive, thrive, get through. What does it mean to get through the holidays? Does it mean that you all jumble together and quickly finish your gift giving and you jump in the car and you fly over there and you get out of the car and you say hi, 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 you bring the gifts in you're supposed to bring in and you sit down and you eat the food and you pass out the gifts and you're looking at the watch thinking, oh God, you know it's gonna take forever to get home. Do you just show up or are you present? You're actually present. That's a really good word, being present. I gave a whole lecture about being present. 90% of the time we are not present. We are not really here. We are thinking about something while we are listening to something. And so we are not really present. So notice, what does it mean to thrive? Noticing all aspects of the holidays, all the things we talked about. What does it smell like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like? Right? All of these things. What does it taste like? And enjoying every step, even if you know it's not going to go the way you want. Like going through a wedding or something like that, where you go so fast, or a birthday, or something you have planned for so quickly, right? How many times have you gone through one of these events and you remember people walking in the door and then you're standing at the sink washing all the dishes at the end of the night, right? And somewhere in between there was an actual event that happened. So what does being present mean? It means that your presence in this moment is not affected by the troubles from the moment that just passed or that's coming. It means nothing bothers you, right? There's nowhere you have to be. There's nowhere you have to go. There's nothing you have to do but be present. Right? That's what being present means. There are reasons why we're not defective. There are reasons why we're not present. Because life doesn't just roll along. You can't be present walking across a busy road, right? How successful would you be getting across the road if you're being present about, oh, look at the cars coming and the tire hitting the road, look at the, right? You wouldn't make it. So we are constantly analyzing our environment, checking things out, making sure everything's okay. Very hard to be present. Sometimes we'll watch a movie and the movie will be so interesting that for periods of time we will get lost in the movie or the book. Those brief moments of presence are very special. The reason we have difficulty with holidays and we have difficulty with our partners, difficulty with our in-laws, has to do with paradigms. Paradigms, like the one you talked about. We're going to talk about that. Paradigm discussion came about, I think, in the 80s. There was actually a book called Paradigms. It is an amazing concept. It is an amazing realization. A paradigm is a distinct set of concepts or thought patterns, including theories that you have about things, research methods, like how you do research, postulates, which again are summaries you come up with, and standards for what constitutes legitimate contributions to a field. Boy, that's a lot of really complicated words, right? And they're trying to do that in 3 lines. A paradigm is basically this. You live by a set of rules that you can't quite describe, but that you know feel right and seem right. When anything or anybody goes against those rules, it becomes incompatible with your ability to associate or address that situation. That's what a paradigm is. And a paradigm shift is being able to step out of that comfort zone, realizing something is different, and allowing you to transition into a new thought process in order to thrive and survive through a non-optimal holiday that does not play out the way I asked you'd want it to play out. You must change your paradigm. If you cannot change your paradigm, you will be trapped in this constant yearly grief about what could be and what never is. What you realize, you live. What you believe, you manifest, right? You believe it's going to be a horrible holiday, guess what? It will be. Where do we learn these paradigms from? Again, we don't come out of the womb with paradigms. Well, our parents do. It's what we experience while we're being raised, right? It's what we experience when you do not get tattoos. That is not appropriate, right? You do not. Boys do not pierce their ears, right? When I was growing up, we did, right? Girls pierce their ears, boys don't. We are dealing with concepts like this all around us all the time, right? And personal experiences either are going to reinforce that, or they're going to start to conflict with our paradigms. I can't be friends with him because he doesn't believe what I believe, right? He doesn't feel, he's got tattoos. We're not supposed to be around people with tattoos, we can't, right? That's the concept, right? It starts to interfere with our paradigms. Now I'm using very simple examples because I want to be able to connect with you on a very simple level about these things because I don't know what all of your paradigms are like, right? But this has everything to do with how you perceive every day. And friends that we have, they can influence this ability to realize a paradigm and sometimes even maintain or change a paradigm, right? In this day and age, it's a little different. But in the 1940s, the biggest difference between the children of the 50s and 60s and the 40s, that was one of the biggest generational differences. It was the first time in history that parents were actually viewed as old-fashioned. The kids from the 50s and 60s were progressive. They did not want to be like their parents. They didn't want the same furniture. They didn't want the same cars. They didn't want anything. And it created a fracture. The fracture is required for you to change your paradigm. There must be something that you go into that you say, oh, God, I didn't know it was going to be like that. And suddenly your paradigm starts to shift. Your presence of what you believe starts to shift. And it causes discomfort initially. So here are some really common paradigms. I'm a loner. I've always been a loner and I always will be. I don't like to spend time with anyone at Christmas. I like to be alone. We don't celebrate the holidays in our house. It's too expensive. People go broke. People go back. We just don't do that. We don't believe in that. We don't believe in doing that. Bad things always happen on the holidays, so we don't celebrate them. I have heard all of these things from people. I didn't make these up. I've heard these things from people. Truly, bad things always happen on the holidays. Guess what? Bad things always happen every single day. You're always going to experience something bad every single day, right? For you to associate that with a holiday, that's a learned behavioral pattern. There's not a day that goes by that we don't all experience something bad, right? Sometimes it's worse than others. Bad day at work, an argument at home, You come out, your tire's flat. You get bad news at the doctor. There's always bad news, right? Always. So the key to this whole thing is reframing. Let's start by finding those things that we love most about the holidays and amplify them in our minds. Amplify them. I want to be with people at the holidays. Do you think you're the only person who feels the way you do?
Oh,
So where is everybody else, right? There are people that want to do it just the way you said, but they don't know how to find you. You don't know how to find them. No one knows how to get that together, right? And start immersing yourself in the 5 senses. Start to be aware. Even if you're not going to buy a Christmas tree, go to a Christmas tree farm. Walk through them. Smell them. Smell the Christmas trees. Go over. There are so many different places that you can go to get Christmas trees that have hot cider, that have these things. Just walk around. You don't need to be with anyone else. You experience it yourself. You get fulfillment yourself. Leading the holidays and not following them. Leading the holidays and not following them. Do you know what that means? It means you make a conscious decision to say, you know what? I'm just not doing it like this anymore. I'm just not going to. I'm going to change it. So I told this story every year. I probably should get another story to tell, but I tell it every year. When I was 16 or 17 years old, I remember, so my parents are divorced, and I remember for the holidays, I would always go see my mother, but my mother lived in Pennsylvania, and I was living with my dad in Michigan. So it was a travel, like you could just, I had to get on the plane. My father had a habit of wanting to go somewhere for the holidays. And this usually did not include me because he was a single man, and the last person he wanted to spend time with was his son. He wanted to spend time with a partner. So I remember this one year where he left. He left a day before I was leaving, and I was going to call a cab to take me to, it's 16th, I was going to call a cab to take me to the airport the next day. And I remember sitting there, it was Christmas Eve, I remember sitting there in the house, and I was like, God, this is awful. This is terrible. We had a Christmas tree like that, it was lit at the other corner, the house was dark. And I just sat there and it was quiet. And I decided, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna do this, I'm not gonna sit here. I don't know where I'm gonna go. Every human I know is with their families. My friend was with his family. I'm Jewish, I'm not Christian or Catholic, so there was no church, right? So there was nobody. The street was dead quiet. There was snow everywhere. There was nobody. So I hopped in one of our cars and I took a drive across town to a neighborhood that my sister used to live in but had moved since. Because I remember that neighborhood and how festive they always were. And I drove down that neighborhood road nice and slowly, and I looked at all the Christmas lights and I saw all the candles on the ground. And they would put these, I don't know what, luminaries, is that what it is? They put the candles in a bag and they all did it, all up and down the driveways. And I got this sense of joy that nobody could have given me. This like happiness that nobody could have given me, that I couldn't have bought with all the money in the world. And in that moment, I realized, you know what? I don't have to do any of this the way anyone has told me to do it. I can do this any way I want to do it. So when you start to get to a point where the holidays seem routine, and you're doing the same thing every year, and suddenly you realize, yeah, you love spending time with your family, but there must be more to this than this. That is your opportunity to make a conscious change, to do something different that might seem a little bit out of character or context, but will open doors of new experiences. Because what happens is that you start to develop a new pattern. So let's give an example of that. let's say you decide you're gonna go to Leavenworth every year. Because here, there's nobody. You don't have anybody. And there's nothing going on. And you don't know a soul in Leavenworth, but you're just gonna do that. So you go to Leavenworth, you find a motel or hotel, you book it for the 4 days or whatever for the holiday, you spend it there, you go downtown, you have the food, you go to the restaurant, you do what you can afford to do and you have a wonderful time. You sit out and you watch the kids going down the snow, you look at all the lights on all the buildings, you experience it and you go back and you tell some friends about what you did over Christmas. And then another person says to you, you know what, that sounded like a lot of fun. Next year I'm gonna go with you. And then 2 of you go. And then you come back and then you know what? 3 end up going because they all like the idea. And you guys have such a good time there that you can't wait to do it the next year. You are looking forward to this holiday that you dreaded because you're gonna be alone, or it's too expensive, or it's too difficult, or it's too... And once you've done it 2 or 3 times, you have just created your own holiday routine. You have just broken out of what was and how it went to this whole new concept of what it could be. And it can be anything you want it to be. Anything. As long as you're happy, as long as you feel happiness with it. And that's the whole idea of this. Because I would tell patients this in the room. You need to recreate your Christmas the way you like it to be. It doesn't have to be the way you're describing it. You don't have to do it this way. If you do it this way, this is your choice, but you don't have to. I have to go here. No, you don't. Tell your in-laws you're not doing it this year. You're done. You're not. It's not enjoyable. Guess what, Fred? I hate it. It's not enjoyable. I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. Unfortunately, most of us make those decisions when we have a major life change. Either something happens with our health, or somebody dies, and it forces us, it shocks us a little bit and forces us out of our comfort zone, and we make a knee-jerk reaction decision. And in a lot of situations, that puts us in a really good place, because now we're starting from zero again. Doesn't always work out great with the relationship, but it sets us forth in a new direction. So that was the purpose of the lecture today. I hope it was helpful. I hope it gets you thinking a little bit about things. Because every day of our lives passes. I just turned 54. I cannot believe it. Where did it all go? Right? And it's so important that we don't waste precious time. We do what we want to do, what we love to do. And we look forward to these events. We can't wait for them to come.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Any questions, any comments, any ideas, anything?
I think it's, something that I'm starting to notice more, like with my generation, is breaking those norms. Growing up, for majority of my childhood, Christmas would be associated with sexual abuse or my dad having an affair, and so we would get everything plus we wanted on our Christmas list out of guilt. So as I grew up, I learned to hate it, and I would always be on edge. But because my mom always hosted Christmas, I had to host Christmas as an adult, and so I would keep inviting those relatives back that did the terrible things to me. And then it's been within the past maybe 5-6 years, it's like, enough is enough. Why do I keep doing that? Because I get so anxious just being in their presence and keeping the secret, and just so much. It's probably been more than 5 years, but it's breaking that norm. Is I'm not going to let my holiday be ruined and ruin it for my children because one individual caused me so much pain. They don't need to come to my house. They mean nothing to me. So now that we don't do that, we have the best Christmases. We fight, we would bounce between in-laws. My in-laws are divorced, so we'd have to go to this one and go to that one. And it was just going around and crazy. And we finally just told them, we will get to you when we get to you. My kids, they will sleep in till 2:00 in the afternoon on Christmas morning. Like they've always been that way. They love Christmas, but they're just very laid back, easygoing. But when mom is high strung and stressed out, and they get high strung and stressed out, and it just ruins everyone's day. So
Yeah.
I didn't want my kids to be put in the position that I was put in, and I don't want them to look back at the holidays the way that I look at them and have those memories of, oh my God, mom was always stressed, or it was always this, it was always that. So we do break the norms and we break the traditions. We go to Leavenworth for Thanksgiving because we're not going to deal with it. If you're going to fight over us, that's your problem. We're going to be having a time of our life. Like,
How many people have gotten sick from something they've eaten, some type of food?
mhm,
Food poisoning,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
right? Have you ever been able to eat that food again? That exact same thing happens when you experience an emotional reaction, where something emotionally happens over and over again, is you develop a visceral reaction to the same experience that you'll be having, like an associated holiday. And the exact same thing happens as getting sick from food. It's a protective mechanism. The body doesn't want to do this again. But yet we put ourselves in that situation again, over and over and over again, right? And so this is an example, the death of your brother. Now, I don't know timing-wise when it happened, but as long as you continue to associate holidays with him, how could you possibly enjoy the holiday? Right? No disrespect to your brother, but how could you possibly get free from that to actually be present in the holiday? Because there's a bitterness about it. There's a bittersweetness to it, right? So there's virtually no way to do any of this if you continue to do everything the way you've always done it. If you're unhappy with how it's been working out, right? That's exactly the same thing. That's what happens. They call it PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, ultimately, it's reactive disorder. It's a reaction to a really strong offensive experience, whether it's food or whatever, whether it made you physically ill, emotionally ill, where your body is fighting you the whole way around, the whole way, and you're trying to push your way through it, and it makes it impossible. You can't be present, you can't enjoy it. You know, how could you? How could you? You know? That is absolutely true. It's absolutely true. So I would wish all of you a happy holiday. And hope that all of you experience something a little different this year than you normally experience, to fulfill you even more. You know? So that you can start to really get excited and look forward to the coming of the holidays and really be free and enjoy them. Definitely. And it was so good to see all of you. I'm glad you came. Yeah. Yeah, my pleasure, always. You have to come up with a new story next year.